So here's an interesting update to the governor's primary in New York. Major progressive group endorses Cynthia Nixon for governor. So for those of you who don't know about this story yet, Andrew Cuomo is a corporate Democrat, and he's the governor of New York. He faced a primary challenge the last time around from somebody named Zephyr Teachout, and she did pretty well. He was supposed to just run away with the election with 80% of the vote or something like that. And he won the election by a lot, but it wasn't no damn 80%. It was 65% of the vote. And a lot of commentators at the time were pointing out how that kind of, steps on his presidential ambitions. Because if you're going to be taken seriously, you need to, just absolutely crush in a New York governor's primary. And he didn't. So Zephyr Teachout did a great job. She was a good candidate. Now Cynthia Nixon has perhaps an even better chance of unseating Cuomo. Cynthia Nixon was on the show Sex and the City, but she's running a very Bernie-style campaign, and she's outflanking Cuomo to his left. And then now there are some really interesting moves happening here. I mean, I wasn't expecting to see stuff like this, but it looks like it's more things are moving in her favor as time goes by. So the group they're talking about here is the Working Families Party. For those of you who don't know, the Working Families Party in New York is I don't know if they're their own independent party. I think they are, but they're also kind of a wing of the Democratic Party, almost like Justice Democrats in a way. It's like the left wing of the Democratic Party in New York, basically. And what they do is they back the more progressive candidates. So, and what they tell you to do is, if you're in New York and you're voting in any election, if you're going to end up voting, say, in a general election for the Democratic candidate, you should vote for that Democratic candidate on the working party's ticket, because then that ends up helping the left in New York State. So that's something that I always do whenever I vote. I think Working Families endorsed Bernie Sanders in the primary, and so you vote for Bernie on the Working Families ticket when you go vote. But so the Working Families Party endorsed Cynthia Nixon. They had a vote within their group. Get this, I love this. Cynthia Nixon won their endorsement with 91% of the vote. So in other words, you get a room of actual lefties together, and they go, yeah, where's the question? Fuck Cuomo. We like Cynthia Nixon. But what happened is, and this is how you know this is real infighting going on. And again, this all goes back to very similar to the rift and the civil war in the Democratic Party right now. You have the Bernie wing, the populist left trying to take over the party, and you have the establishment and the neoliberals and the corporatists trying to claw and hang on to power with every fiber of their being, even though they have a deeply unpopular ideology. But there were three major unions that were backing Cuomo that decided to pull out of the Working Families Party. So you have the Service Employees International Union, the Communications Workers of America, District 1, and the Teamsters Joint Council 16. So they withdrew from the Working Families Party on Friday on the eve of the vote when it was expected to go for Nixon. So that's the dirty, backroom deals that go. That's what that is. That's not a reflection of oh no, Cuomo is actually better for the unions. No, that's Cuomo getting in some back rooms with union leaders and doing a tit for tat negotiation where it's listen, if you back me over Nixon, what do you want? I'll give you this, this, and this. And so that's not. I need everybody to understand that's not reflective of oh, maybe Cuomo's more progressive than Nixon. Nonsense. So that's interesting. Some unions broke off, endorsed Cuomo, but the Working Families Party endorses Nixon overwhelmingly. And I just want to give you some more background on Cuomo so you know what's really going on in this situation. Cuomo enabled an arrangement that stopped left-wing legislation from getting passed. So what he did is he approved of a 2012 gerrymandering plan that protected the Senate GOP's majority. And in 2013, After Democrats narrowly won back a majority anyway, Cuomo reportedly gave his private blessing to a coalition between Senate Republicans and a breakaway Democratic caucus known as the Independent Democratic Conference. And so what that did is that alliance made us that the Republicans still maintained control, even though the Democrats had a numerical majority. So this is the shit that Cuomo does. What Cuomo does is he acts like, oh my God, I'm so progressive. Look at my rhetoric. But then behind the scenes, he works to keep a Republican majority in place. And then what happens is he gets to propose all of these really bold progressive plans, and knowing full well that the Republicans are going to slap it down anyway. That's dirty politics, man. That's real Machiavellian shit. That's what that is. I mean, that even had me like, whoa. And that's why, you know, so what happened was he got the primary challenge from Zephyr Teachout, and Cuomo promised the passage when it was clear that she had a shot. Cuomo was like, whoa, okay, what is it? What do you guys want? What do you guys want? What do you want to, you know, the left-wing constituents? You want a $15 minimum wage? You want legal marijuana? You know, I'll do whatever, just don't vote for Zephyr Teachout. And so he delivered on the $15 minimum wage, but it's all the way up by 2021 is when it really gets to $15 an hour. But he didn't deliver on legal marijuana. So this is one of those things that Cynthia Nixon is hammering him on. You could argue because Cuomo gave control of the Senate back to Republicans, that's what's blocking the New York single-payer healthcare plan from getting into place. And Cynthia Nixon is saying, listen, you vote for me, we get legal marijuana in New York, which we should already have. We're one of the most liberal states that there is. But we don't have legal marijuana because Cuomo takes a lot of money from alcohol companies, and they don't want weed to be their competition. So Cynthia Nixon's like, I'm going to legalize marijuana, and I'm going to get a single-payer healthcare. And she's running to the left, and she's also, what she's doing is very similar to what Bernie did in that she's not like solely focusing her campaign on the cities. She's also saying, hey, everybody in, you know, rural upstate New York, I know you guys need jobs. I know you're struggling with the opioid crisis. We're not going to forget about you. So really interesting. I hope Cynthia Nixon wins because the fact that it's New York State, I mean, if we could get single payer in New York State, oh my God, that would make my day. If we could get, you know, legal marijuana, I don't even smoke weed, but God, that would make my day. I would smoke some weed in celebration if that happened. Okay, Joe Rogan was trying to get me to smoke weed on his podcast. He said he wants to do a podcast at some point where I smoke, I'm high, and I'm paranoid, and me and him could just talk, and I could explain how paranoid I am in front of millions of people. That might be fun. But in order to practice for that, legalize weed in New York, and then I'll smoke a little bit here, get used to it, and then maybe we'll do that. But so Cynthia Nixon, listen, secular talk, we have the biggest audience, you know, the states that have the biggest secular talk audience, California, Texas, New York. Those are the biggest secular talk states. So if you're in New York, we got to get Cuomo out, and we got to get Cynthia Nixon in. Because she's left of him. She's left of him. And she's agrees with us more on the policy. So let's do the damn thing. I hate the political posturing where some unions are doing the corrupt deals with Cuomo. It's like, fuck off. You know Cynthia Nixon is better for workers, so why are you doing this? Because they're corrupt. And that's what Cuomo is. He's a backroom deal cutter. He's not ideologically principled. If he was principled, he wouldn't have fucking done a deal to turn the power of the state over to Republicans. So let's do it. Cynthia Nixon, everybody get out there and vote in the next election for her.